Hi, my name is Mark. Doing a guitar solo in the metal genre is kind of a very specific thing. I wouldn't say it really follows a structure, but in a way it kinda needs to. Metal is one of the descendants of rock and blues, but especially more in the most recent years, unlike in its predecessors, metal solos can't really hold on to long sustaining notes and mindless kind of cliche blues rock pentatonic shreddery, and generally don't go much slower than 8 notes, depending on the tempo of course. And although having to follow that structure is not really something that I necessarily agree on, what I ended up noticing is that many guitar players end up playing the same scales and the same arpeggios, and actually in a pretty linear fashion end up following the chord changes too literally. And as some of you guys know, I'm kind of the biggest Marty Friedman fan ever. That may have been a slightly exaggerated sentence, but yeah, what's important is that Marty Friedman is the guy for me. And my brother, who also plays the guitar, started to learn the solo from Tornado of Souls recently, and I was giving him a couple of tips and all, and then I played this specific lick during the solo. Wait, that's it, that's what's missing in many metal solos. And after talking to a couple of students about this, their answer was, well, it's not really like I don't understand that, or that I can't do that myself, I just never really thought about this. And not to brag, but when I compose a solo, or when I'm improvising, that is something that I already unconsciously think about. But maybe for you, even if you can quickly pick it up, you may not have yet thought about it, or even maybe you have thought about it, but you haven't really used it much. But perhaps I'm just rambling too much now. I should probably show you the lick. But before you go on with it, I just want to say, please subscribe to my channel. YouTube's been acting a little bit weird lately. Even if you subscribe to a channel, those channels' videos may really not show up in our subscription box. And even if you ring the little notification bell thingy below, you still really may not be notified of that channel's content. Myself included, I've been subscribed to channels whose videos I like to be notified of, and I end up not receiving notifications, or maybe receiving notifications like an hour later. So please, if you want to stay tuned to my content and the content of your favorite creators, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel and turn on all the notifications. Not just occasional notifications which are set as the default, you really gotta turn on all the notifications. And while you're down there, please consider leaving a like, and perhaps checking out some of my other videos after this one. Since we're talking about Marty Friedman, you'd perhaps like to check out an awesome trick for improvising and playing through the chord changes that is approved by Marty Friedman and Jason Becker. Or perhaps you'd like to check out how to make scales and create new licks. And lastly but not leastly, since I kinda mentioned Marty Friedman on that video, how about Guthrie Govan vs John Petrucci? Should you even practice guitar? All of those videos will be on the card section right there, on the description below, and on the annotations of the end screen. So please, stay tuned. Okay, I guess now we can get straight into it. Okay, so even though the whole solo is kind of a masterpiece, and each and every single lick of this solo would be a subject of a video of its own, the lick we're focusing on today is the first arpeggio section. And it goes kinda like this. And that lick is a pretty specific Marty lick, because in most Megadeth solos, Marty has this section where he kinda arpeggiates the chords, and if you look at the rhythm section of that solo, the chords that are being played are a B power chord, a G power chord, an E power chord, an F sharp power chord, an A power chord, probably an A sharp power chord, and then we resolve back to B. And play the whole same thing again, kinda like. And even though these are just power chords, and we don't really have a third to decide if the chord is minor or major, if you know a little bit about the modes and theory, which if you don't know, I have a couple of videos that you can check out in the card section right there, this chord progression except for that little A sharp, kinda depicts B minor or B Aeolian. And if we think about that little A sharp, we can kinda think about it in B harmonic minor. So even though we don't have an exact scale, we're kind of around B minor. And I know, we already knew that before. But why is this important? Well, because now we can figure out the chords. Whether we think about it in B Aeolian, aka B natural minor, or B harmonic minor, the chords would generally be B minor, G major, E minor, F sharp major, A major, and in this case I think it would make the most sense to do kind of an A sharp augmented, which is basically an inversion of your F sharp major you had before. So you're pretty much going. And again, you're thinking, why is this important? Well, if we look at the lick we had before, and if we dissect that lick, we start out by, which is kind of depicting your B minor scale. That lick is a pretty good fit for the B minor chord. After this lick, we go for the, and if you remember this shape, this is the shape of a D major arpeggio. But in this case, we're playing, which would be kind of a run on your B minor 7 add 9 arpeggio. If you think of this position of your B minor 7 chord. So again, it kind of fits well with that B minor theme. And then after it, we go for that G major chord. And Marty does this lick. You're pretty much going up and down your E minor arpeggio. And again, these licks may really not exactly note for note what Marty plays, but they're close enough for you to get the general vibe. And again, even though this is a G major chord, not an E minor chord for us to be playing an E minor arpeggio, if you look at the notes of a G major chord, which would be G, B, and D, even if you play it in this position, they're the same notes, just in a different position or in a different inversion. The notes of an E minor arpeggio are B, G, and E. So they're pretty much the same notes we have on the G major chord. Just instead of having a D note, we have an E note. Which again, is not the same chord, but it's pretty similar, and it relates pretty much to the same chord. And it's in the same key, so no problems in there. And this is where it gets interesting. All of this talk about the solo and the specific lick is because of this. The chord that we're supposed to imply is E minor, right? But in this section, Marty doesn't play an E minor arpeggio. He plays an E major arpeggio. And this is what's really cool about this solo. And it is something that you can apply to your own solos and your own songs. Again, we're thinking about relating to the full chords. B minor, G major, E minor, and so on and so forth. But the chords that are being played aren't really B minor. They're a power chord. And since those chords don't really have a third, we're the ones who are able to choose if we want to make them major or minor. And this is a pretty cool choice. If you think about it, when this arpeggio section comes into the solo, we're kind of still building it up. And since Marty had just played an E minor arpeggio, if you play an E minor chord, then you play an E major chord, it kind of builds it up an extra step. And just so that you don't get decontextualized, not only can you learn this lick, and you can try and play this exact example in your own solos, but there's also another thing you can do. Especially in metal, where many things are kind of atonal. Let's say that you have a chord progression that's like E, and then like C, and then like, I don't know, A, E major with a G sharp on the bass. Which is pretty much taking your A power chord and flattening all the A's. If you're playing over this chord progression and they're like, instead of thinking in a specific key, you can try and outline each single chord individually. Let's take the E power chord for instance. You could start out with some kind of an E minor arpeggio, for instance something like, simple, right? And then theory would kind of dictate if you're going from an E power chord to a C power chord, you would go for a C major, like something like it, right? But you can, again, think of that C power chord as a different chord of its own. For instance, instead of doing C major, you could perhaps do C minor. And if you play both of them, it can make a really cool kind of Halloween-ish sound. If you think of the chords, instead of going, you're kind of going, which again gives a completely different vibe to your solo. Just one note can make a ton of difference. And then the next power chord we have, it's an A power chord. And again, theory would kind of dictate that this A power chord would relate to an A minor power chord. But since again we don't have the third, we could perhaps make it major and play some kind of an A major arpeggio or some kind of an A major triad, like something like A dominant 7-ish. And then for that G sharp over A major, you could perhaps do a G sharp dominant arpeggio. then resolve to G for that E minor again. So if you think about this chord progression, something that would have probably started out as something like it, you know, just following the chord changes, E minor, C major, A minor, and then E major. Well, you got this sort of a sound. Even though this was kind of a really quick and badly explained example, because to be completely honest, I'm on a tight schedule to record this video, I think you get the general idea. The sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. For instance, in this case, we did E minor to C minor. For instance, you could have just played major arpeggios. I don't know, probably something like again, it's something that you can work out, and the sky is the limit, pretty much. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you in any way possible. And if it was, please leave me a comment below. Do you have anything to add to this discussion? Is there something I missed, something I should have said? Do you agree? Do you not agree? Do you have any suggestions for videos or what kind of content I should make? Don't forget to leave it in the comments below. As always, I'm giving away a free one-on-one Skype lesson. And all you have to do to win one free Skype lesson and discounts on future lessons is to subscribe to my channel, turn on all the notifications, follow me on Instagram, and then DM me with screenshots proving that you did everything mentioned before. You can DM me on Instagram or either Facebook or Twitter if you want to follow those two. Those social media will be in the description below. And yeah, I guess that's it. Again, thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, turn on all the notifications. Don't forget to check out some of my other videos after this one, leave a comment if you want to, and cheers!